Welcome to the High Adventure Scouting Podcast. This is the source for all things high adventure for scouts, scouters, and anyone else interested in promoting high adventure trips for our youth. You can find all kinds of great high adventure options for your scouts at highadventurescouting.com. We are constantly updating the list of cool trips, and we want your input on your best trip. Welcome, high adventure enthusiasts. We're excited, as always, to highlight a high adventure base on this edition of the High Adventure Scouting Podcast. Now, we're again joined by Stephanie Kelly. She's the Backcountry Trek Manager from the Northern Lights High Adventure Base, located all the way up in Alaska. Now, the base is operated by the Midnight Sun Council of the Boy Scouts of America, and they're based out of Fairbanks, Alaska. Stephanie, thanks for joining us again on the High Adventure Scouting Podcast.
Oh, thanks, Rob. I'm so happy to be here.
I think it's great. We find that we've been trying to connect and do this for several months, so I'm glad we were finally able to do it.
Yeah, me too.
Now, the last time we talked, probably a couple of years ago, we did an overview of the Northern Lights High Adventure Base. Just kind of gave listeners an idea of what you guys do, the kind of programs you had. This time of year, or this time around, I want to hear about what happened in 2021 and what things look like as far as program and openings and things of that nature that you might know for 2022. So how did last year go?
Well, last year went really great. We were super excited to get back out in 2021. I think a lot of people were ready to get back outdoors and travel again after a lot of things happened with COVID, and I know are still happening for many of us. So the excitement was definitely high. And you know what we kept talking about internally as the summer went on, and then as the summer wrapped up, is what a wonderful staff we had. That was a huge highlight for me personally. We hired 5 incredible people to come and work with us from really unique backgrounds, but it made for a really fun summer. I know that our guests who came up really enjoyed them, and they're people I'm very glad to know. So that would be a highlight for me.
Awesome. Now, did you have a full sessions last year?
We did. Yeah, we actually had one troop. They have been talking to us for, oh my goodness, I think about 4 or 5 years. So they had to push their trip back for their own reasons a couple of times. And then with COVID, a couple of different things happened. So when they finally got to come up and see us, it was like meeting old friends. These are people that we've emailed and talked to for years, planning their trip. And they had a great time. They did a paddle down the Yukon River. So that's 6 days. It's a little over 150 miles of just beautiful, remote scenery. And they had been really, really looking forward to it. So I know they had a great trip, and they were, like I said, so fun to actually meet in person. So that was kind of a highlight for me also. And then, we had a pretty full summer otherwise, and I was really glad to see that because, again, not to be a broken record about COVID, but it was just so impactful for all of us in all of our lives. It really felt like a victory to have a full season and have troops back up spending the time with us.
Eventually, that's going to be known as the C word, and you don't.
That's okay with me.
Yeah, what was it from Harry Potter? The name that you shall not be mentioned, or something.
Yes.
I'm not a big Potter fan. I've watched the movies, but
me too.
That's just don't mention it. So
yeah. I'll try not to mention it anymore. But
well, that's okay. That's okay. It's a reality, and there were a lot of plans that got put off. The regular listeners are tired of hearing me talk about all my issues getting to film on. We finally did last summer, and
wonderful.
It was nice to finally get there. I started off. My son was 14 when we started the process, and then we finally got to go when he was 17. So,
just in the nick of time.
And yeah. So, are there any major changes coming up for 2022 for you guys?
Are
any changes at all?
Of changes. So again, we have a couple returning staff members, but some new faces that we're looking to join the team. So that's exciting. Both of those things are exciting. I love to see people that have done it before and bring their experience up with them, and I love to meet new people and train and hire and encourage new faces within our staff. So that's exciting. We have a much more diversified summer this year, and I'm not quite sure why. Last year we had a couple of the same trip, which only means that several troops decided that they wanted to take the same trip. So that was
Right.
just sort of luck and coincidence. But I'm pretty excited this summer. We have a group going up to the Brooks Range. So, Gates of the Arctic National Park is one of the northernmost national parks in the country. Highly remote, very beautiful. There's not really a known trail system, so we have to do a little bit of sleuthing and planning ahead of time to do some research on the right trails to take. But I'm very, very excited about hosting that crew and just going somewhere completely different and unique that we haven't done in several years. And another highlight for me is we have a couple returning troops this year too. And we've been lucky to see some familiar faces in the past, but it's always a good sign when people had a great time with us and want to come back. It happens to be that they have, scouts that they're still have younger, kids or whatever, and make that possible. And I love to see that they're coming back to us.
Now, what are most of the groups? Are they looking more towards kind of a river type trek, or are there still those doing the backpacking treks? What's the typical
So
nowadays?
last summer it was a lot of river time. That Yukon River paddle, it's hard for me to not want to take everyone on that trip. Honestly, it's so beautiful and so different than anything else you would experience. I think in the rest of the states. So it's hard for me not to always want to talk about that. But I do think the ultimate plan, if you're going to travel far, and everyone traveling to Alaska has come a pretty far way, is to do a little bit of everything. So my recommendation is always, okay, well, what if we did a few days on the river, and then a short backpacking trip, and then kind of piece a couple other things together. Maybe we do a day at a glacier. Maybe we spend a day at Denali National Park, things like that. So every troop coming up has kind of a surf and turf style trip in that way. So even those spending a lot of time on the river do have a couple days hiking. And we have a couple folks doing some sea kayaking this year too. So that's pretty cool.
Would that be more of a kind of a custom trek for you guys?
Really, everything we do is custom.
Right. Yeah.
Even if you see some repeats, it's really only because they're such great locations. But we really pride ourselves on being small enough to have that experience with the troops. When they start talking to us in the beginning, we really try to get to know them and know what they're looking for, what the scouts are like, what sorts of things they've had success and fun doing in the past. And Alaska is sort of a bucket list place. So what are you really looking for? Is it a really remote adventure? Is it trying to see as many different things as you can? How much time do you have? So it all ends up being somewhat custom.
We all know the major high adventure bases around the country, and they offer some awesome programs. Have you been searching for a cool alternative from your typical high adventure trip? As a scout leader, I want to give our scouts some great alternatives. You need to check out highadventurescouting.com. You'll find information on over 30 different council high adventure bases in 24 states. Maybe you're looking for a do-it-yourself option and need some ideas. Maybe you've taken a great trip and you want to share your good fortune with your fellow scouts and scouters. Just send us the details and we'll publish your trip. Whatever your interest, highadventurescouting.com is the one-stop shop for all things high adventure. That's highadventurescouting.com. Awesome. That's one of the states I have not been to is Alaska. One of these days I'm going to get up there.
One of these days.
One of these days. Eventually. So, what is the as far as, let's say, a group out there doesn't have any plans this summer? is this a at this point we're into March of 2020 when we're recording this? What is that a possibility to say? Oh, let's go this summer, or is this something they need to kind of think about for 2023 and beyond?
You know what? As luck would have it, we have a little bit. We actually have two windows in June and early August. So if you are listening and you're ready to kind of come up here pretty quickly, it's funny. We actually do have a little bit of space left. So please, please, please call us and let's get that conversation started. And then 2023, we do have a lot of space open in 23 also. So
Right.
yeah,
There's a lot going on next year. There's just everything's full bore. I know a lot of the high adventure bases are filled to max, and the National Jamboree and World Jamboree after that, and
yeah,
so it's there's a lot happening. So, um, but yeah, I would definitely there's a lot of good information on their website. We'll talk about that later. And also, I didn't realize that I looked on the website on the front page. It says High Adventure Scouting Podcast. So that
yeah,
I've become famous. I'm on
we
on the
all have.
Northern Lights High
Yeah,
Adventure Base page. So that's awesome. So,
yeah,
well, I love talking about high adventure and finding out what the bases are doing and the opportunities that are out there. Because I mean, there's not many opportunities to go up to Alaska and really see the almost virgin scenery
yeah.
that's out there and
It's very
hasn't been
special.
explored. So,
Yeah.
are there any new things being planned? I know we talked about stuff coming up, but anything you want to really highlight outside of what we've talked about already?
Well, goodness. I mean, I always go back to this kind of what are you hoping to see? What are you hoping? What kind of experience are you hoping to have? Um, I have so many things I want to tell people that, it can feel overwhelming to plan a trip like this, but, we hope we make it very simple for you, where you can really just tell us what you're interested in and get your scouts involved. And I love to see when adult leaders, they start the conversation, obviously, and then the scouts can vote on things that they really are excited about doing or activities that they would like to include. So, um, that's always fun. And, I'll point this out again too. We had a winter trek program years ago where you could come up and see Alaska in the wintertime and all of the activities that might include. So, if that's something that interests your troop, also, please let us know. I consider some good times for that might be, an extended winter break into January could be a great time. And even I know a lot of schools now do kind of a midwinter or a spring break that's earlier in March. So it's still wintertime in Alaska, much longer than it might be for you. So definitely check out our opportunities there.
Yeah, let's. Yeah, I'll ask a question about that. I mean, what's those of us downstate, and those listeners know that you don't live in Alaska. You live and we talked about this. You live in kind of middle of the U.S., so you're going up there yourself. So the those of us down here think winter in Alaska. Why would I ever want to do that? It's bad enough in different parts of this area this year. So
That's true.
exactly. So what what kind of? I know you talked about kind of break, the extended break, those kind of things. What would be the advantage of going to Alaska in the winter when we're looking at oh gosh, it's summer and it's still kind of cool in
Right.
Alaska. What's the advantage of doing that?
Well, aside from bragging rights, which I think is, important for all of us, Um, it is very beautiful. A vastly different landscape, and I grew up in the Great Lakes region, and it was definitely snowy and icy, and plenty of snow days and opportunities there. So I thought I knew what cold was, but really looking at an Arctic landscape in the winter season, it's truly truly beautiful, and it's hard to describe, but it kind of comes alive in a different way. That's really a time when Alaska can shine, if you will. And the folks that are there in the wintertime, can kind of kind of show you the way it is livable and it is a great place to have adventures, even though it is very cold and very snowy outside. The Northern Lights, which is, are part of our namesake, and something that a lot of people visit to see, the aurora borealis. It's gorgeous. It's otherworldly. It's very special. So that's definitely something to try to catch while you're up here in the wintertime. There's a lot of winter sports. There's dog sledding, backcountry skiing, snowshoeing, and even winter camping could be really, really fun. So
Well, I think a lot of us have watched these programs that are on. I don't even know what channels they're on, but people surviving in Alaska. And I don't know how true to form. I think some of that's Hollywood, but I think a lot of people will look and say, "Gosh, that looks horrible." and I'm glad that you've kind of set the story straight, that it's a little different than what they show on TV. So.
absolutely. Yeah. I think with the right gear and the right knowledge and planning ahead of time, you can be ready for what you might experience up here. Yeah.
And you're not planning on living up there unless you really want to. It's just for, a week or so. So, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So come have a wild winter adventure, see some beautiful things and do some cool stuff. And, very similar to our summer program, but different season.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I've kind of covered everything I kind of wanted to. I wanted to get an idea of what's coming up this year, and encourage units that, hey, you don't anything going on this summer. This might be an option. Short notice. There's not a lot of you don't have a lot of choice in the time frame, but definitely I'll give your contact information at the end, and so they can bug you directly. But is there anything I've left out while we've been talking?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I could go on and on. So, so probably not. But yeah, I really, really would love it if somebody listening happens to have a little bit of freedom in their schedule this summer. I would love to have you up with us. We're so excited. And, Rob and I were kind of talking before. I think you pressed play, but, now is that part of the spring where everyone's really excited for what the summer holds and all the stuff that each of us have planned. But I don't know. I'm really looking forward to this summer. I think we're going to do some great things.
That's awesome. This will be one of the first summers outside of 2020 that I have not gone on a high adventure trip, and I'd love to. I've been told I can't this year, but we'll look at next year.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing. It's never too early to start planning either. So
Exactly.
23 is
Exactly.
not that far away.
Exactly. So, well, Stephanie, I'm glad we got an opportunity to connect and kind of talk about what's coming up at Northern Lights High Adventure Base. So I appreciate you joining me again today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks so much.
Now I want to thank Stephanie Kelly. She's the Backcountry Trek Manager from the Northern Lights High Adventure Base, for joining us today. Now you can get more information on their programs at alaskahighadventure.com. They're also on Instagram at Northern Lights High Adventure, and their website again is alaskahighadventure.com. Now you can connect with Stephanie directly and bug her about maybe coming this summer. The email that she can be contacted at is northernlightshighadventure@gmail.com. Thanks for joining us today, and remember to tell your friends about this podcast. You can find us online at highadventurescouting.com, on Facebook or Instagram. If you have any questions or ideas for future podcasts, just email us at info@highadventurescouting.com. This podcast and website are independent and not affiliated with any youth organization. Happy High Adventure! This has been a production of High Adventure Resources.